Right now, Gary Minchew joins us here in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Man, I'm pumped up now.
Are you raring to go? It's early voting day again.
It's early voting day again, and tomorrow, and we put out 400 signs to remind everybody about early voting. Strange, they're the same color as my other signs, but you know.
Yeah. Let's talk about the strategy here because we've talked about this before. And look, I've covered elections. I've seen this, and every time you see the little signs pop up, your signs they're everywhere. And the fun thing, and I think this is a brilliant strategy. Not only do you have the signs that have your name, Gary Minchew for mayor, right next to those, and amazingly color coordinated enough. It says what? Early voting today.
Early voting today.
Ah.
And then we'll take them all down Saturday after early voting. I've got volunteers. We know where we put them, and we're going to pick them all up Saturday.
That's smart. And so anyway, the signs are out there. You're wearing a shirt that says Gary Minchew for mayor. You're one of three candidates. And here's the rules for people who don't know how we do this. We have all the candidates come in twice, basically. The other ones, Brooks Bivens has been in twice. John Gale's been in twice. This is now your second opportunity to reach out to the people of Valdosta and all the voters out there. So real quick, what's the platform? And I know you're going to say jobs, 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 yes?
That's it.
Okay, so why are you running for the mayor of Valdosta?
To bring more jobs to Valdosta, and I've just calculated in my real estate career, which started in 1984, it took me 10 years to get to the point that I could put the big deals together. But since 1994, I've brought over 2,000 jobs to Valdosta, and I've been asked about them, and so my ads in the Valdosta Daily Times Sunday, Monday will actually list them. And that's just important. And I know the other two guys, and we're fortunate, Frank, this time we got three guys, gentlemen, running for the same office. John Gale and I grew up together, and the only negative I've seen out of the campaign is stealing people's signs. That's just
well, see,
ridiculous.
and that happens. It's not like John or Brooks are out there stealing signs. No. It's like people just go, I don't like that sign. And sometimes a random act, sometimes just a teenage kid. It happens.
I know. But my handlers have told me you got better things to do than worry about signs. We'll put them out. Don't worry about them.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and let me point this out, because this is one of those fascinating things that when we started the mayor's campaign, obviously John Freddie is not running for re-election. I thought, wow, we're going to get new blood in there. This has been, how do I say, the nicest campaign among three guys I've ever seen on a local. But, for mayor, because this is not like you're running, I don't want to subjugate any other race and say, it's a minor race. Mayor's kind of a big deal.
It is.
But gloves coming off and bloody and up and all that stuff, you guys aren't doing that. It's a very respectful race among all three of you. I commend all three campaigns for that.
Thank you.
Now, as we're looking at this, what's the strategy for the next couple of days? What are you doing? I know you're coming on the program here. Let's talk about the newspaper ad that's coming out. Sunday and Monday, you're going to start detailing the jobs, because if you're talking jobs, the question is, how's the mayor bring in the jobs? How's that relationship work?
Well, let me give you a good example. When I was in doing real estate privately, Outback Steakhouse, they were coming to Valdosta. I knew Bob Basham, that's president of Outback, and I called then Mayor Jimmy Rainwater, and I said, hey, I got Outback is coming to the airport in an hour. Can you meet me out there? He said, sure. So Mayor Rainwater shows up. The president of Outback gets off his Learjet or whatever, and I introduced him, and I said, this is Mayor Jimmy Rainwater. And he looked at Jimmy Rainwater, and he said, Mr. Mayor, as long as I've been doing Outbacks, I've never had a mayor meet me at the airport. And he said, we will put an Outback in Valdosta. And so he got in my truck. We went and looked at the site. That was the only one he looked at because we'd done all the homework. He didn't even get out of the truck. He said, that's fine, carry me back to the airport, and Outback is here. And another good example, when it was Super Kmart, they expect 6 months to a year of time to get their projects in order. And at the time, Valdosta, that was the second Super Kmart in the country. And so they were talking about, well, it's going to take 6 months to a year. I had Jimmy Rainwater to call Kmart and guarantee them that all city approvals would be done in 60 days. From the time they submitted their paperwork until it was annexed into the city, rezoned, and all their site work was 45 days.
So these are the sort of things when the details come out, you're going to say, hey, look, if I can do these things as a real estate guy,
sure.
If I'm mayor, I can do more of the same stuff.
And I know this thin line there, conflict of interest.
That's the thing I was going to lead into.
But I dealt with that for 5 years on the industrial authority, and I not only abstained when it involved friends, I got up and left the room and closed the door behind me, let the other 4 authority members take care of it.
Give me a vision of what Valdosta can potentially look like 5 years from now.
Well, the biggest thing that's going right now is going to be the distribution centers. They're enlarging the port at Brunswick. As you know, we have a rail line that's just a straight shot to Brunswick. The Industrial Authority is looking at some, and I'm not a member anymore, but they're looking at some property on the east side of Valdosta that will have rail frontage on CNS, CSX, and Norfolk Southern. And can you imagine loading those boxcars in Brunswick, bringing them to Valdosta on a rail line, and then you've got 2 rail lines for that stuff to go out? It's just, I mean, I'm a visionary on stuff like that. It just makes me drool to think about the possibilities. There's city water and sewer already in the area, so that, and another thing that I tried to get done on the Industrial Authority, didn't have time, but that's the vegetable processing plant. There, the vegetables and stuff that's grown in this area, and the closest processing plant is in Tennessee, Picksweet. And the vegetable farmers here tell me that it costs them more to ship the vegetables to Tennessee to be processed than they get out of them when they sell them. And so if we can, have them processed in here, and that'll, that won't be an outrageous number of jobs because people don't sit down and shell peas anymore. You got a machine that does it. But just the jobs that it will bring, the utilities that they'll use from the city of Valdosta, and because they use a lot of water to process those vegetables, and just what it will add to the economy. Now vegetable process growers, they don't do 1 crop a year. They usually do 3 on the same piece of land, and that's just exciting. I get pumped up about stuff like that.
Let's talk about the 5 Points area as well, because we all know 5 Points that's going on. The committee is putting together the recommendations. How do you see 5 Points, because this is going to happen, how do you see 5 Points unfolding over the next few years?
Well, I managed the part of 5 Points that the city didn't buy, and the Setzer family in Jacksonville, they have their plans ready to upgrade simultaneously when the city starts construction on the new auditorium and hopefully the library too, and when they do the traffic roundabout and everything, that area will be revitalized. You'll see things there that you haven't seen lately. The existing center, there's negotiations going on now with another grocery store to go out there that I'm aware of. And so, that area's going to kick up good. It's always been the retail hub. And if you look at demographics and rooftops like I do, the rooftops are that way. So are the demographics, but everybody wants to be around the mall. And we need a second shopping area. The mall area is always going to be good, and especially if the James Road project across the interstate, when that happens, and it will happen. It's just
that's a when, not an if.
And then North Valdosta Road, there's a lot of things going on out there. There's another grocery store looking on North Valdosta Road. So, you get your grocery stores and everybody else follows.
As these things are coming out, now we just have a couple of days left of early voting, goes through this week. Monday, no voting. They're setting up the polls all over on Tuesday. Let me give you this number. 2,314 people have voted so far. Deb Cox, Board of Elections, says, wow, we're having people coming in, and this is, I keep reminding people, this is not a presidential election year, and it's not even the off year when you have the representatives and 1/3 of the senators go every couple of years. Instead, this is an off year. 2,000 people have made it to the polls so far. What's this tell you about the campaign? Because you are, I hate to say this, you're running for mayor, but you're on the same ballot as QE, so a lot of people going out there, but it's still driving people to the polls. How do you look at these numbers?
Well, the last notes that I had was 1,800 through Monday.
It's 2,300 through yesterday.
Well,
so people keep going.
They do. And I'll take some of the credit. These yellow signs that we put out said early voting today. That's what's making people go to the polls. Just remember Gary when you get there.
You have a potential, obviously, three-dog race. Why? First thing blotted out. 3-man race, 3-person race that is going in. There's always the potential for a runoff if we don't get the 50% plus one. What's the strategy in case you're one of the 2 left standing and we got to do this again in a couple of weeks?
Obviously, we'd like to win it outright, but more obviously, we'd like to be in the runoff. And if it is a runoff, we have not put all of our assets in to the initial part. My budget was $10,000. I think Mr. Gales was around $30,000, and Mr. Bivens, I don't know what his was, but we're going to come out pretty close to the $10,000 we budgeted. We do have contributors that said they would recontribute, and I've still got the staff of volunteers from the university. Those college kids, I'm telling you, they have so much energy. They remind me how old I really am. But they're excited about it, and you know, if we have to go again, we'll just go again. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at how old you are now. You brought it up. You opened the door. I didn't say a thing about that. But that being said, you're looking forward to the race, and you're for all the candidates, I got to say this. I've never seen so much energy. For people who are saying, people seem to be happy to go door to door. They're happy to talk to the neighborhood groups. They're happy to go to the civic organizations. Quick question for those people who haven't seen the signs, and they're everywhere. For those people who want to track you down and say, I want to find out where you stand on this issue. I'm about to make my vote today, tomorrow, Friday, or Tuesday. What's the best way to track you down and find out where you stand on anything? Is there a website, campaign headquarters? How do they find you?
Well, we've got a website. It's garyformayor.net. The campaign headquarters is on Baytree Road, right in front of the movie theater, and the most used cell phone number in Valdosta right now is 560-0029, and I turned it off before I came into the studio because I did want it to interrupt our conversation.
But I'll bet when you're out of here, it's going to be ringing off the hook,
it
right?
Will.
All right, there you go. Gary Minchew, thank you so much. Best of luck as always. Have you already voted early?
No.
So you're not one of the 2,314?
I have always made it, even when my dad was on city council years ago, I try to be the first person at the poll on
the election day?
On the election day.
Huh.
And I will stand in line to do that.
I have a tradition. I always take at least, depending on the scheduling, I always want to take both my kids. If not, I always take at least one of my kids to the polls. My kids will always see me vote. That's one of the things. I schedule around their schedule, not mine, because I want to see how important it is. So, yeah, we got traditions.
Mine are in Atlanta, so I can't get it. And they got 7 kids between them. So.
They know you're voting, all right? Appreciate it. Best of luck as always.
Thank you, Frank.
Take care. We're going to take a quick time out. Back with a whole bunch more. We're not even close being done yet. Tons of news to get through. Morning Drive News Talk 105.9. This is WVGA.